You know what they say. The best way to predict the future is to create it. So call a few people on the same vibe who will look to support you in this thing we call life. So then I thought, let's level up the cast on NFL Conversation. Introducing TheCREW.
It's your man's Josh Norman.
Welcome to the show.
Morris Chestnut here. It's about that time.
This is Brian Urlacher. No introduction needed.
Yo, what up, baby? It's Deric Augustine.
You guys need me to suit up?
Good to see you, man. Your dog all right? Is your dog all right?
What?
We signed the Heisman Trophy winner. We drafted him, Devontae Smith. You know him? Yeah, I know him. Okay, okay, cool. I was just checking. I
told him, hey, you play, you know that, right?
Yeah.
Just get ready for it.
What up, it's your girl, Josina Anderson, and it is time to get started. All right, welcome to episode 22 of TheCREW. It's your girl, Josina Anderson, and as always, you know we're going to wrap up these games going on. It's been a doozy in the NFL this week, but always a lot of action at the end of the week. Today, we are joined by former Broncos safety Nick Ferguson in the building and Stephen Holder, Colts beat writer for The Athletic, and as you know, Deric Augustine, actor extraordinaire. Just want to let you know you can find us on thecrewshow.com. As always, undefined youtube.com. Can I say it correctly? /undefined with Josina Anderson. And also you can download the USA Today app on your televisions and watch us there as well. But right now it is time for Crew Call. All right, what up? Everybody is in the building. Look at that bright smile from Nick Ferguson. You could do a Colgate commercial. You blinding me all the way from here, Nick.
Hey, you are blinding right now. You blinding us, man.
You all right? What's going on, Nick?
He got the light. He got the nice ring light.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, if I'm going to work on this Dintu and this smile, these 32 in my mouth, I might as well smile and appropriately, right?
Yeah, most definitely, man.
Well, we like that you have oral hygiene. Okay, that's good. We appreciate that here, especially when we're close and Omicron is going all over the place. I heard somebody texting somebody, one of y'all. Stephen Holder is in the building after a big win from the Colts the other night. It's Saturday football, no less. What's up, Stephen?
Just over here feeling self-conscious about to make a dentist appointment. But that's all good. I appreciate you having me. And crazy day, crazy weekend, really, in the NFL. And we got more to go, too. So who knows what's next.
Oh, yes. 8 of the next 10 days, including yesterday, to have football, including Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. So a lot of NFL going on this week. And Deric Augustine, actor extraordinaire. You've been watching him in All-American. You saw him on Godfather Hall on Epics as well. Deric joining us after doing his holiday shopping, getting ready to buy me a Christmas gift, waiting to look outside to see my Maserati.
I'm going to buy you a Saints jersey. Man. Hey, you know what, Josina? My mom always told me, if you want to see if somebody got some money, look at their teeth. And my boy is shining right now.
$1 million smile.
My goodness. You know what I'm saying? We trying to flex up and keep up with y'all, but I'm not letting go of that gift. I mean, do I need to send you a list? Why you trying to get off that subject? I'm just saying.
I got you. Send me the list. But the first thing is going to be a Drew Brees jersey. I got you.
Drew Brees,
we need him right now.
I like my gift with 4 wheels. You know, you could put a red ribbon on the top. If you
I got you next year. I got you.
I got you next year. You can't even say it's in the mail.
No, I got you next year. I'm going to keep it real.
Okay, time now for instant game reactions, guys. Well, surprise. The Lions beat the Cardinals today 30-12. What is going on there? Kyler Murray only 23 for 41, 257, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 4 carries for 3 yards, had no running lanes against the Lions defense. What is going on with that, Nick?
Well, first and foremost, this was a team that we all thought was, yeah, you got me? Yeah. This was a team that we thought was playoff bound. And right now, things are just kind of falling apart. You lost 2 back-to-back games, 1 to the local Detroit Lions. So now there's 2 wins on the season for them. But if you're Dan Campbell, you're really happy about what your team has done thus far because they're really exciting. They're playing with a lot of energy. And just think about it. No TJ Hawkinson, no Jamal Williams, and no DeAndre Swift, but they were still able to go out there and perform well. So I think Arizona finds themselves in some trouble.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, obviously the big missing guy for the Arizona Cardinals, DeAndre Hopkins, but this is a guy that this year was just, I think, averaging 57.2 receiving yards per game, even though he still leads with the team with that. But really, guys, it's more indicative of the fact of how balanced the passing offense is for Arizona. And you still had guys step up like Christian Kirk, 94 receiving yards. Ertz had 64. They were still able to get 53 rush yards from Chase Edmonds, but they came in having an opportunity to get into the playoffs for the first time since 2015. They can still do that with how games, transpired today with losses or ties, but they didn't do it on their own game. Steven, what's going on with Arizona? Did they let their guard down because it was the Lions?
I mean, it's possible. When you get especially a West Coast team going east, that's a challenge in and of itself. And look, when you get on the road, you cannot have any weak links. You cannot have a bad day because this can happen. But I do worry just generally about Arizona. A couple losses in a row, they've wasted a couple opportunities here. When you sprint out to the kind of start that they had, I believe they were 10-2. I mean, that gave them all kinds of cushion, and they've now used all of it. So what happens now is now you got pressure. They didn't have pressure before. And so, I mean, they were a nice story when they were out on top and no one was challenging them. Now you got pressure, and now you're on the defensive a little bit. And I want to see how they respond to that, because that is a different deal than they have been dealing with all season. So we'll see what they're made of. And by the way, I mean, they've got 2 games coming up. They host the Colts on Christmas. Then I believe they go to Dallas, if I'm not mistaken. So
take a look at the schedule.
Yeah, they got a couple tough games coming up.
Some good games coming up.
So this is not a done deal for them. I mean, even though they have those 10 wins, they got a lot of work to do.
So, Deric, do you still believe in the Cardinals, or are they starting to look like pretenders to? But I mean, when you look at them on paper, they still have a lot of weapons on offense. So even without DeAndre Hopkins, who looks like he should be done for the entire season, I mean, the prognosis on the MCL with the knee is 2 to 4 months. Obviously, anytime players, Nick, where you guys get a window, you try to beat it. So we're not going to never say never, but it's not like there aren't options on offense in terms of Ertz, in terms of AJ Green. So there was really still no excuse today, even with Hop out. Do you still believe in the Cardinals, Deric?
I do. I think this game, they just took them lightly. And what you can't do in the NFL, these guys are professionals. We all know that. And I do still think they're going to go deep in the playoffs. Kyler Murray is an absolute beast, running and passing the ball. I just believe that they got nipped in the butt today, man, and they got to pick it back up.
Well, they were undefeated on the road before this game, and I definitely also want to make sure, Steven, that I answer your question really quick as I hurry up to pull this up with the Cardinals, just to look at their schedule, pulling this up. So, yes, they started off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-2. Lost their last 2, obviously, against the Rams and the Lions. They've got the Colts and at Dallas and Seattle to end that. Right now, they're at 10-4, still first in the NFC West, but right now, missing the opportunity to clinch for the playoffs so far.
Yeah, they'll be all right, though. I'm sure they'll. I mean, look, they got the Colts and Dallas coming up. I'm sure they're not going to, they're going to do their due diligence this time because Dallas is looking good, man. That defense is off the chain. I watched that game today. They just look really good. Dak is playing at a high level. So I think they're going to come prepared, and they're going to put up a fight.
All right, so let's move to this Packers-Ravens game. Packers won this one 31-30. We were just watching this at the end, having an opportunity to tie John Harbaugh. It's worked for him before, to make very, risky calls at the end of the game. Didn't go his way. They go for 2. It does not work. Nick, you want to explain that play and what your opinion was on it?
Well, first and foremost, is it time to retire the whole idea with analytics and going for it on 4th down? We've seen a lot of teams that make that attempt and they are not successful. And Coach Harbaugh has been in a situation before with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he came up on the downside of that as well. So when we look at this play against the Green Bay Packers
earlier in the season, it worked for him, but
that's earlier in the season, Josina. But sometimes when you have opportunity to take points, you take those points. But in this case, they were going for a 2-point conversion. And the problem was with the scheme and the play call, to start things off. I mean, you have Mark Andrews out there who I have a lot of respect for, more so because he's on my fantasy team. Yeah, and he's on my fantasy team. But they didn't use him properly. I mean, they flexed him out 2 yards outside the number. So he had very limited room to work with as far as trying to put himself in a position to make the play. And then
wait a minute, when you say they flexed him out, is that him not when he's running and going out right, not giving himself enough area to work in terms of, his own space to work in the back, of the end zone or the corner of the end zone?
Well, they being Greg Roman in the play call. I mean, if you're going to run a sprint out type of play, you got to reduce the split of your receiver to give him an opportunity to run to the back pylon or fade to that front pylon. And then the quarterback has got to get outside of the pocket so now he can turn his shoulders, set his feet, and make an accurate throw. For me, the play was doomed from the very beginning. I mean, what you want to do, if you're running a sprint out, you usually want to do it with 2 wide receivers. The outside receiver runs a fade route. Now the inside receiver has more room because now you can actually throw towards that pylon and he can run to the ball. None of that happened. The Green Bay Packers end up winning the ball game, and I'm sure Coach Harbaugh is going to have to answer more questions about why did you go for it on that 2-point conversion, but more importantly, Josina, well, why did you not craft the better play to be executed by Tyler Huntley?
Well, but just to give Harbaugh some credit here, I mean, because the backup quarterback, Tyler Huntley, on a game going up against the Packers, 28 for 40 today, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Tyler Huntley also rushed for 73. So they were still able to get 16 points in that second half. So, I mean, and just in terms of the feel of the game, he looked like he was handling the moment. Now, according to you, based on the call, you didn't like it. I don't know if Mark Andrews did everything he was supposed to execute in terms of his positioning with that call. I hear what you're saying on that, but I just want to say in terms of the flow of the game, up leading to that last call. That's all.
Well, the flow was great, right? And maybe you hand the ball off to your running back. But I still say if you're going to attempt a play like that, a 2-point conversion, usually what teams do in that situation on the goal line or maybe on another 3rd and 1 short yardage play is you run a sprint out and you put your quarterback in a position to be successful based on the route and based on the alignment of the receivers, but that's not the case. That was not the case.
Okay. All right, well, let's move on to the third game. Guess what? The Dolphins, it's not so much that we're surprised, guys, that the Dolphins beat the Jets 31-24. It's the fact that they are now 7-7 after starting the season off 1-7. Now, I believe can you tell me what the score was, Nick, with the Broncos game?
Well, I can tell you that I think the score ended up being 15-10 in favor of the Cincinnati Bengals.
Right. So that means that I believe that the Dolphins are 11th in the AFC. They still got some room to go. But what I would want to talk about, Stephen, is just giving Tua and the team some props for climbing back up to 500 after the trade deadline, and everyone had Tua on the curb, Deshaun Watson and all this other stuff, who, by the way, would have happened if these cases would have settled. But Tua's still handling his business, still in the conversation, right?
I give him a lot of credit because, he has been under a lot of pressure really from day one of his career. And I'm not saying he's always risen to the moment. I mean, he's had some struggles. Okay, let's be clear. It hasn't always been pretty. But this year in particular, I think with that backdrop, the Deshaun Watson rumors, the owner rumored to have been talking to Houston about him. And yeah, absolutely. unequivocally, right? So,
yes.
And so you can't tell me as a human being that you're not aware of that, you're not paying attention to that, you're not wondering in the back of your head what that means. And then his reaction to that is to go out there and win, what is it now, 6 straight, I believe, for them. So, and he's been a big part of that. I mean, I think if you look at what they're doing, they have basically refocused their offense around him. I was down there in Miami earlier this year. The Colts made a visit to the Dolphins, and the one thing I was struck by, Jacoby Brissett started that game. The one thing I was struck by in that game was, man, they don't really have like an identity, a persona or anything. I was like, what are they trying to do? I don't know. Yeah, I couldn't tell.
Well, I think what we also have to give props for in this game is the fact that, did you freeze on us, Steven? Come back in if you can hear me. I think you froze. Also take care of the Wi-Fi bill. Steven, come back in. Can you hear? All right, reestablish with us. But what I want to say is we got to give Duke Johnson some credit. This is a guy who wasn't even necessarily supposed to be the leading rusher for the game because you had Savon Ahmed and Myles Gaskin on the COVID list. Now, Myles Gaskin ended up being able to play, but Duke Johnson goes for over 100. Okay. And he had just played in one game this season, carried the ball 4 times entering. The longest carry was 6 yards. So good for him, especially being a Miami boy, to get over 100 and help the team to get on 500 as well. And right now, I do want to move on to Crew Huddle. Steven, join us if you can, so we can talk about Carson Wentz and the Colts win over the Patriots the other night. So here we go.
There he is.
Well, guess who joined us back in time for the Colts discussion? Did you pay your Wi-Fi bill?
Yeah, my bootleg internet over here.
That's what happens when you go cricket Wi-Fi. Okay, let's talk about your Colts beating the Patriots with the performance from Carson Wentz, where he just completed 5 passes out of 12 for 57 passing yards, 1 touchdown, an interception. But your boy Jonathan Taylor beast into 170. So what do we make of your Colts and the way he's handling his passing game, but your boy is basically carrying the load with the running game?
The Colts went full Patriots in that game. Basically, they just said, you know what, Belichick, we're going to beat you at your own game. And this is the thing. Very few teams can actually do that. I'm not telling you like it's a recipe for a Super Bowl. I'm not saying that. But I think that sometimes, however, the Patriots, they kind of put you in a situation where sometimes you got to do some things that are not preferred. You know, I mean, I think if you go back to the Buffalo game a few weeks ago, Buffalo couldn't play that game. I know that was induced by the weather as much as the Patriots defense. In this game, I think it was really induced by the Patriots defense. Nobody looks good against New England. They just don't, because the way they play, they're physical. They cover great on the back end. So they make completions challenging. They get after the quarterback. You got to deal with Matt Judon. So they just do so many things. There's a reason they're the number 1 defense in the NFL. It's not accidental. You got pretty good personnel, and then you got Bill Belichick. So Carson Wentz is just the latest in a long string of quarterbacks that look like doo-doo against the Patriots, honestly. So now I'm not suggesting that you can win over the long term playing like that offensively. I don't think you can. But I think that matchup on that night, it worked for them. And the Colts are different. They are different. They got those horses up front. Those guys are a different breed than most offensive lines. And then you got Jonathan Taylor, who I think is just, really the breakout offensive star of the year this year.
I mean, good for him to have that signature run at the end of the game. What's really curious to me is that the Colts are 5th in the AFC. I mean, I'm just, and then I saw so many people talking about Carson Wentz's performance, which wasn't positive, but yet they are 8-6. And then when you look at his touchdown to interception ratio, 23 to 6 interceptions. So, I mean, I'm going to ask you, Deric, do you, even as, and I know the Saints are your team and you're trying to adopt the Browns and you're working through your emotions and the Saints are playing tonight and you're going shopping, you're figuring out my gifts and all this other stuff. But I want to just ask you your opinion about Carson Wentz, do you feel like he's gotten past the ghost of Nick Foles and the Eagles, and he can carry this team, to a solid postseason run, or no?
I remember earlier in this discussion we had with Carson Wentz, I think it was like week 3 or week 4. I counted him out. I was like, Colts ain't doing nothing. I'm not a Carson Wentz fan. He's trash. And I was speaking clearly, no disrespect, but obviously he proved me wrong. And I mean, they are 8-6. Like you said, but they're 5th or 6th in their division right now.
5th in the AFC.
Hey man, they still got a chance, man. And the Patriots, yes. Bill Belichick is the best coach in the game right now, man. Besides Sean Payton. And man, to beat that guy, you got to pull out all of your cards, man. Even though the Saints beat him this year, and we played awesome offense against them. But yeah, man, I'm excited to see what this Colts team does, and hopefully they can continue to prove me wrong.
But I guess what I'm asking, and Nick, you can jump in here too, and Steven answer is that, have you seen enough from him? Even though the touchdown interception ratio is good, are the numbers lying here? Because how much of this is really them leaning on, which you should do, a good balanced offense leans on their running back. But I mean, since you're there on the ground, Steven, and then Nick, I want you to give your opinion as well. I mean, paint a picture on, just from what you're seeing him mentally, how he handles the pressure. What types of balls are you seeing when he's actually attempting it, and is it look like he's in his skin or not?
Well, I'll start, Steven, by saying this. I'm not really down on Carson Wentz like everyone else, because just like you said, Josina, if your ground game is working, then that means you don't really have to pass the ball as much as you used to. And we propped the quarterback position up to a certain level where we're expecting Tony Romo or Patrick Mahomes type numbers every single game. That's the NFL has definitely changed. And as we move on with the last 4 or 5 games remaining in the season, it's going to get tougher. When you get to the playoffs and the postseason, it's about playing great defense, which the Colts can do. Running the ball is something they can do as well. So I looked at it like this. Frank Reich decided, hey, listen, we got a great running back between, Nyheim Hines and Jonathan Taylor. Let's just feature that run game. Carson Wentz, you take a back seat this game. Mo Alley Cox, we look at Jack Doyle. Pittman, don't forget now. Remember, he got kicked out of the game for pushing, Duggar in the back. So when you don't have your offensive weapons to attack down the field, then you have to do or use whatever you have readily at your disposal. So to me, I'm not really down on Carson Wentz or the Colts. I'm just saying, well, this is a key team that's peaking at the right time. And when you can run the ball like they did against Bill Belichick, who's typically, used to just shutting down what you can do offensively, I mean, that says a lot about what this Colts team can do. And I'll add this. The idea was Belichick was going to try to shut down Jonathan Taylor. But what Frank Reich said, okay, well, I'm going to do you one better. We're going to run 21 pony. What that means is that we're going to get both of our running backs on the field at the same time. Good luck stopping that. And as we saw, the Patriots didn't do a great job. So kudos to Frank Reich and that offensive line.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I just want you guys to take a look at what some of the people were saying on Twitter. Let's go to Crew Chatter real quick. All right, so let's take a look at some of these tweets. Skip Bayless. On yesterday's Undisputed, I predicted the Colts would beat the Pats, but I refused Shannon's bet because I don't trust Carson Wentz, he says, his words, enough to bet on him. He went 5 for 12 for 57 and an interception that got any back in the game. Colts are very good, except at quarterback. Their Achilles. Chatter number 2. There has been only one game this season where Carson Wentz has faltered in a big moment, and it cost us a loss. He still has the 4th best touchdown interception ratio in the NFL. Not sure what more he needs to do. Number 3, I am a Colts fan, and I just want to announce that we are not winning any games due to the play of Carson Wentz. We have the best running game in the league, and our running backs are literally carrying us to win. Wentz is some cold-blooded shit. Stop falling in love with his numbers. What do you think of those so far?
Wow.
Well, you know what's lit on Twitter. These people do not. Go ahead, Deric.
They sound like me and my Saints, man. Look, we know in the NFL, man, a lot of the success is predicated on QB play. And I know it's changed, and running game is important too, man. But it's the truth. Look at the last couple of Super Bowls, man. Patrick Mahomes plays like a beast. Tom Brady is a beast, and we don't have that. And you have to rely on the running game. Teams start to adjust, and they send their safeties down. You got one high safety, and they stop that. Look, and I think that's what's gonna happen, man. If Carson Wentz doesn't step his game up.
All right, well, let's look at the rest of these. Hold on real quick. 3 more. The hate, quote, Eagles fans have for Carson Wentz is incredible. I'd be willing to put a good amount of money that he'll win another ring long before the @Eagles do Morris Chestnut, who we will be back in the building while we're talking about it Wednesday because their game's on Tuesday. Guys having a career year, Steven. I don't know if you agree with that. Goes to show what having a supporting cast will do for you. # organizational failure. 2 more, last 2. Carson Wentz is a bum. I said it 6+ years ago. The effing OTs for the Colts are just blowing guys off the line. I'm 25 pounds overweight and smoke weed every day, and I can ramble for 10 to 15 yards with those 2 monster OTs up front, man, handling the defense.
Well,
what are you about to say? Go ahead, Deric.
Josina, if they don't make it long in the playoffs and they're cut short, you know they're gonna put the blame on Wentz. So.
Well,
I don't know.
I'll chime in with this. This is what I would say.
Oh no!
Go ahead. I got you.
Okay. I was like, I know. I hear you. Okay. So the Colts are interesting because they're trying to do something that teams don't generally do anymore. I think Deric just alluded to this. How teams are quarterback reliant, and they are trying to be less dependent on the quarterback. Not because they don't like Carson Wentz, but just because it's a philosophical thing for them. And Frank Reich, the day he got hired, he said, this is not going to be about one player. And he was talking about a different quarterback then, right? He was talking about Andrew Luck. So, but I will say he has demonstrated that over the years. Now, the question is, how far can you go with that philosophy? And that's what's going to get put to the test. But they are a team. They can. That's just real quick. What I was going to say is they can run the ball.
Yep.
They take the ball away. Number 1 in turnovers in the NFL, and their special teams are fantastic. So they got a nice little package. But the question is there going to be a point where the quarterback has to take the ball and drive them down the field and win a playoff?
And you see what's happening with the Titans. Derrick Henry goes down, and look what happened, man. It's the same thing, man. Carson Wentz is going to have to start throwing that ball accurate and making some good plays.
Yeah.
Nick, did you have a final thought on Carson Wentz?
Well, here's what I would say. I would add by saying it's all about efficiency. Sometimes we fall in love with the gaudy numbers and we think that every quarterback is supposed to throw, 23 or 41 for 385 yards and 3 touchdowns. It's different now, right? And I know we look at Carson Wentz and we say, well, we need you to be better. But here's what I'll do. I will look outside the numbers and say, okay, well, what type of routes are your wide receivers running? T.Y. Hilton kind of just got back. He's still not himself. And you can't rely on Jack Doyle to be your passing threat. And all you need, and Steven, please do this for me. If you talk to, Michael Pittman Jr., tell him to calm the hell down. Stop being so angry, right? Because
he plays angry, yes.
Well, listen, man. Yeah. This is like the NBA, man. If you start doing things and pushing guys, you're gonna get kicked out of the game. Yeah. So when we start talking about Carson Wentz and his lack of production as a passer, well, guess what? I mean, Michael Pittman Jr. was a buffoon by getting himself ejected from the game. So we're gonna bring Carson.
Tell us how you really feeling, Nick.
We got to blame Pittman too as well. That was a bunch of buffoonery.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, just walk away, man. Walk away. Nothing good's gonna happen. Nothing good's gonna happen.
All right, guys, we're gonna take a 30-second break here while we come back for what they talking about to talk about Urban Meyer saying football seems, quote, fragile to him right now after he just got the boot after midnight, not working. And Antonio Brown is back, according to NFL.com, after a 3-game suspension, supposed to be playing Christmas week after the fake vaccination card catastrophe. So let's run this quick little break, and then we'll do that real quick, and we're almost out.
You can turn that music on again, brother. Thank you.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
right. So what are they talking about? Guess who is in the box? It is Urban Meyer, because he had an interview with the NFL Network. Ian Rappaport would have. And one of the things that he said, guys, when the conversation was about whether his style of coaching works in the NFL, he said, quote, "I think college has changed quite a bit. Just society has changed. You think how hard you push. I believe there's greatness in everybody, and it's the coach's job to find that greatness. However you do that, positive encouragement, pushing them to be greater, making them work harder, identifying flaws and trying them. I think everything is so fragile right now, though, and that includes coaching staffs. When I got into coaching, coaches weren't making this kind of money, and they didn't have agents. Everything is so fragile, where it used to be team, team, team. I remember talking about it in a staff meeting 3 days ago. I got into this profession because I had the greatest high school coach, and it was all about team, all about the huddle. So what do you think about Urban Meyer, not in the NFL after a string of he's talking about, Deric, the NFL is too fragile? Now, remember the report about him, allegedly kicking Josh Lambo, right? Also, trying to bring in Chris Doyle, who was accused of, allegedly, all these reports, racist comments, bullying and demeaning comments and things like that. Then, by the way, leaves the Bengals game Thursday Night Football, and the video captures, not what Josina says, getting handsy with the woman. But now we talk about not practice, not a game. We talking about the NFL being fragile. Deric, what you think?
Man, Morris, Brian, and myself called this a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. This is not college, man. These are grown men you're dealing with, man. It's just they don't follow. You don't have to take not even necessary the tactics you were doing in college to these grown men. It's not gonna work, Myers. So, and now it proven itself that it didn't work. You're fired, man. I feel you. Your heart is broken. You're being fragile right now. Just walk away with your pride and move on, man.
So, Nick Ferguson, what do you think about this? Right now, you're on mute. We can't hear you. Your audio. Steven, jump in there while he figures out his audio. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts on Urban is I agree with Deric. Like, he sounds like he's being fragile right now. And also, he didn't really answer the question about his coaching style. He's turning the blame on the NFL culture. We're talking about you. Okay, mm-hmm. Is your approach and your style a problem? He did not answer that question. I think his players answered that question. I think Shad Khan, the Jacksonville owner, answered that question. At the end of the day, as Deric said, you're dealing with men. They, in many cases, make more money than you do, and in many cases,
although I think his contract was $12 million a year or what have you.
That's true.
There's a lot of players because he was so you could say what you want to say about the contract, but right now it's looking hella inflated. But go ahead.
Yeah, but anyway, but I think the point it remains that it's in college, it's all about the coach. The coach is the program. In the NFL, listen, there are very few coaches being put up on billboards. Okay, it's about the players. It's not about how cute your little scheme is. You know what I mean? It's about the players, man. It's about the players. And if you ever get that twisted, you're gonna end up like Urban Meyer.
Mm-hmm. Nick, can we hear you now? Go ahead, try. Your audio. What happened to your audio? Go back out and come back in. Yeah.
Now, go back out.
Try with your audio, Bill. But here's what I wanted to say. Go ahead, Deric, please.
No, Steve is right, man, and that's why he found himself out of the NFL, man. Your style of coaching isn't working, man. Not on this level, and it's okay, man. Figure out what you have to adjust. Come back when you have a game plan on yourself, and stop being fragile about why you left the NFL, why you got fired.
I would add one quick thing real quick is that this is a good lesson here, though, for owners, because, we're about to go into another hiring cycle. And I'm not even making this about minority coaches, even though that's a whole other subject. And I think that's relevant here.
Wait on. We got
a whole other show. Okay, that's a show by itself.
Hear about the priest. Go ahead.
About church. Okay, go ahead.
But what I'm going to say, though, is that this is what happens when you go out and you have the wrong priorities when you're trying to hire. They were looking for something flashy, a bright, shiny object. So they went and got Urban Meyer when they really should have just went out and just got a good bona fide coach.
Yeah.
So lesson learned.
Nick, can we hear you? Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, Coach. So I've been in this situation before when I was playing for the Houston Texans, and we were doing this drill where it was a fumble drill. You punch the ball out and you go to recover the ball. So my DB coach, while I was trying to recover it, he kicked the ball the first time, right? So I said, okay, that's the game that he wants to play. So the second time he kicked the ball. Now, mind you, I'm in full pads. So when he kicked the ball the second time, I didn't try to go to retrieve the ball. I ran and I tackled him. This is something that I recommend that every player on a high school level, Pop Warner level, and college level do, because it'll teach your coaches not to play around with you in this particular way. And you guys are right. When we look at what happened with, Urban Meyer in this whole situation, he should have never been hired. Now, usually we say, well, desperate times make people do, desperate times, desperate measures, the whole thing. I say desperate times make you do dumb crap, right? That's not the word I really wanted to use, but you guys kind of get the point. And Shad Khan, he was desperate for a winning team, something to help him sell tickets. So he brought on Urban Meyer. The first sign that Urban Meyer was out of his mind was when he did not say no to Tim Tebow being signed as a tight end. See, that was the first sign.
You're right. You're right,
there.
though. Yeah,
that was the first sign. But hopefully
I don't even know if that was the first sign. I think the first sign was Doyle, because I think the Tebow thing happened after Doyle. And oh, by the way, this to me is very similar to the situation that ultimately ended in John Gruden getting let go with the Raiders, where the comment. Hold on a second. Where the comment about the NFLPA executive director, DeMaurice Smith, about being Dummaurice and having lips like Michelin tires, that was enough. That was enough, let alone everything else on top of it that made it also egregious. But sometimes things don't need co-signing. And it's the same thing here. The Chris Doyle attempting to hire him, someone who had a $1.1 million separation agreement from the University of Iowa after all of these allegations were made. And it's not to say that, I don't want to, say that just because people say things that it's true. But in this case, it's a plethora of allegations being made that are very disturbing. And oh, by the way, on the flip side of that, there are plenty of strength coaches that can be hired that you don't have to hire him, whether you want to indict him on those allegations or not. That was enough by itself. And not only was it enough, it was illuminating. It was illuminating to character. And then after this, you have a coach that doesn't get on the team plane with his team after a loss, Thursday Night Football, and ends up on a viral video to the point where you have your owner having to say, you know what, you're going to have to earn back our trust and what have you. And then a couple months later, then this Lambeau thing comes out and whatever else comes out. And then not to mention, the questions about what was going on with Robinson and not using the running back. He's supposed to be, out because you're fumbling, but yet the other running back is in there when he's not fumbling, all these other things that were just, questionable. And then, we're forgetting to mention, just to get everybody caught up in case you didn't know everything, is the NFL.com report, which is saying that the coaches were saying that he called them losers in a meeting reportedly or what have you. But I had my own source reporting on that as well. And then, your wide receiver, Marvin Jones, supposedly leaving after, a spate of criticisms and things that he reportedly didn't like and having me coach to come back in the building. That was all after the Chris Doyle thing. But go ahead. I digress. Somebody.
Wow.
You dropped a bomb on us.
Yeah, look. I mean, it's true. The bottom line here is you mentioned the Chris Doyle thing at the beginning of his tenure. To me, that was, I agree. That was the precursor. That was the harbinger, sort of the harbinger for everything else. And I'll tell you why. It's because it goes to show you, or it went to show us at that moment, that it was all about him, because he thought nobody was going to check him on it. He really believed nobody was going to check him because he's used to nobody checking him.
But Nick, how about worse?
Ohio State.
Absolutely, Stephen. But how about worse, that you were going to bring him into a locker room with grown men who also are people of color, who, by the way, read. Oh,
disrespectful.
What did he say? And then that he was supposed to be doing locker room speeches after that. Like, come on, like, where are we at? And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, y'all can make comments on the show after the fact. I do believe that Shad Khan is one of the investors in the BNC, that, that show that comes online, that people of color anchoring on whatever, what have you. So I'm just saying, like, how did you, think that was even as a person of color himself, and I understand that you want to have cachet, you're a businessman. I get it. You also got to fill the stadium. But you mentioned that the coaches at the time that were interviewing for that, I believe it include Arthur Smith, I believe Josh McDaniels, I could be wrong about that. And then Raheem Morris was supposed to do the interview, but then he ends up getting the defensive coordinator job with the Rams. But then you meant, okay, so this year, guys, December 27th, the 2-week window starts earlier for coaches to be able to be interviewed virtually. He's got a vacancy. The Rams have an interim coach. So now, lastly, Stephen, as we move on, because Sunday Night Football is getting ready to start, with the coaches that are out there, Byron Leftwich, former Jaguar, got a connection. Josh McDaniels, you have oh my gosh, Eric Bieniemy. You have Vance Joseph. You got the defensive coordinator from the Giants, Leslie Frazier, Brian Daboll, Josh McDaniels,
Todd Bowles.
Todd Bowles. So who should be the head coach of the Jaguars? Because after this game, you have to make a decision because the window opens right after Christmas.
Yeah,
it's got to be somebody who can connect with that locker room, because what they need right now is they need to be able to, I think, trust their head coach. And I think you heard these comments from the locker room this week. Yeah, you heard those comments from the locker room this week. I thought that the day after Urban was fired.
Shaq Griffin.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was on that Zoom when Shaq Griffin was talking about that. And I think, to me, that was his way of saying, we need somebody who we feel like we can look him in the eye and believe what he's saying, he or she. And they didn't have that with Urban Meyer, and they're crying out for that. So I think Shad Khan, if he's smart, he's going to be sensitive to that. And if you want the best out of these guys, in particular, that young quarterback who's got that immense talent, you need to do right by those young men.
Well, Shaq Griffin basically said they need to understand it's not a one-man show. That's
if Shad Khan really wants to resolve this in one, head coach hiring, all he has to do is go to Tampa and hire, Byron Leftwich. Byron Leftwich played in your organization. You have a young quarterback. Look what he's doing with a 43-year-old quarterback. Imagine you got the new model that you could take out of the garage, and Trevor Lawrence. That's the guy that you should go and hire.
So do you go, Deric? Do you go Byron Leftwich?
No.
Hold on.
I mean,
let me set up the table. So do you go with Byron Leftwich, who got his Super Bowl ring last year? Okay, so he has that, but not yet a head coach. So you have that. Or one person I know who is going to be pushed for that job also is Caldwell. Caldwell will be pushed for that. When you talk about someone who is a studying exact opposite of Urban Meyer, and obviously has, Super Bowl rings and what have you. So do you go with that? Or if Josh McDaniels elects to, leave New England, do you go Josh McDaniels, who has multiple Super Bowl rings, while Nick is going like, no.
Nick is going, no. I tell you what is not their answer. The guy from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because he's Todd Bowles. He's successful.
Byron Leftwich.
No, Byron Leftwich. He has Tom Brady. Look what he couldn't accomplish with the great Jameis Winston, who he comes to the Saints and his turnover ratio has depleted efficiently. So Sean Payton turned Jameis Winston into he's throwing all these interceptions. So I see what he's doing. I see the progress he's making. And before Tom Brady got there, Tampa Bay was horrible, man. They're horrible.
But people will say, to play devil's advocate, that Byron Leftwich, Nick, and I'm not taking. I'm just saying what people are going to, whatever. Is Tom Brady?
Tom Brady, and then you got more key pieces in Tampa. When Tom Brady came there, he bought Gronk, he bought Leonard Fournette, he bought more defensive players, and their defense has always been well. Now they got a matched up offense. Okay, yeah, we see what they're doing now, but I don't think that's the answer for them, Nick. I'm not gonna lie to you,
Nick. But let me put this clarifying question on the table. When times get rough, when you hit adversity, who is the coach that's going to steady it, where the players are not going to necessarily be questioning?
Okay, well, listen. Okay, I'll say this, and Deric, you know this for last year. When you look at the Saints beat with Drew Brees, they beat Byron Leftwich and the Bucs twice, and they beat him handily, right? So when you talk about dealing with adversity, they dealt with adversity. You take on a new quarterback, 43-year-old quarterback. Some say that he has a noodle for an arm. I don't believe that. You have to take on Leonard Fournette, Rob Gronkowski, and you take on Antonio Brown.
The Jaguars. When the Jaguars hit adversity, which coach is going to be your steadying force? What y'all talking about? Go ahead, Deric.
I think it's more of than a head coach issue with Jacksonville. They got rid of majority all of their key pieces throughout the years.
Well, so a lot of them wanted to also go too.
They need a head coach to come in there and to tell the front office, hey, y'all need to trust me, trust my decisions, trust the people out that I would like to draft, and to mentor and to teach these players how to come into their own. We have a young team. We got a young quarterback. We got to give them some pieces. We have to beef up this line because, God damn it, they be getting to Trevor Lawrence. And that's why he's not making no throws. That's what needs to happen, Josina.
Okay. I need some definitive answers really quick because I need to get your opinions on AB, and then we're going to pick the game for Sunday Night Football really quick and get out of here. So, Steven, who should the Jaguars hire? Please, who?
Of the names that we have mentioned,
yes,
I actually like Jim Caldwell. And I think because he's a stabilizing force. And look, if that man can go to Detroit and have, I think, 2 winning seasons, I believe, in 3 years in one of the worst organizations in all of sports, then he knows how to deal with steadying the ship. You know what I mean? So that tells me something.
Deric,
I'm gonna say Dennis Allen with the Saints, our defensive coordinator, and we'll see how well he does tonight because he's the head coach tonight because Sean Payton has COVID. That's what I'm saying.
I hope after you say Dennis Allen and they on Front Street on Sunday Night Football that they don't be giving up 40 points after that pick. So we'll come back to you on Wednesday with that one. Nick, and that's not a slight on there. I know what you're doing, but he just wasn't in the conversation. But whatever. Nick Ferguson, go ahead. Who?
Oh boy, Deric's Homer Nation for the Saints is definitely showing through. But I'm not going to go in that direction. I'm going to stick with Byron Leftwich because he understands the organization. He's an African-American coach, so he allows them to fill that void too as well. And it also helps out their quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. So I'm going to stick with Byron Leftwich.
I'll just say this. I know Byron a little bit, and from my experience, the one thing I will say about Byron is he will connect with those players. He's great at connecting with guys. He has a great, incredible, effervescent personality. So he definitely will have that part down, the X and O's.
Byron's cool. Byron got all the cool factor too. Just like we had with that Kango. So let's not get that part with it.
For failure, man.
How they doing that? Why?
Y'all setting this man up. In the beginning of the season, y'all saw how this man and Tom Brady had some beef. I saw it on the sidelines. Tom Brady would call his own plays, and he looking there like, Come on, man.
It wasn't no days of our lives. Quit playing.
Hire that man, and we're going to see what happens.
Breaking news. Ain't no news.
Josina, hire that man, and we'll see what happens.
Okay, but listen, I'm not worried about it. So here, really quickly, Antonio Brown, according to NFL.com, going to be back with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This after his chef accused him of getting a fake card. 2 weeks later, they found out that the card was not a credible card. He was on a 3-game suspension, supposed to come back the week of Christmas, which is next week. According to NFL.com, Bruce Arians is not going to get rid of him, even though originally, before he came, he said he was on a run strike deal. So do you guys have a problem with this? With BA? Go ahead,
Let him come back. Let him come back. I think he's a great player, but I don't think he's a shell
so the 3-game
himself.
Suspension is enough discipline?
Yeah, go let him come back. He always do some dumb stuff. We're not used to this.
I don't know how you parent your kids. Listen, I'm all about, not condemning people forever. And I went on Twitter saying that. I'm just being funny right now. But go ahead, Nick.
Well, I'm okay with it. And here's the situation. Real recognize real. And Bruce Arians first thought that, hey, well, I may move away from Antonio Brown. But he realized that Brown was a key part of them getting to the Super Bowl.
Oh, he's a good player. We all know that.
Yes. And why kick a guy out the door and give him to someone else? Because if he does that, the Green Bay Packers would definitely pick him up. So they decided they're going to keep him in the fold, and I like the move.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, Steven, he did say gone, but what I reminded people on Twitter is, gone don't mean immediate. Gone can be still give me this Super Bowl ring, and then we just don't bring you back even though your contract is up after this year. So gone didn't necessarily have a definition on when. But go ahead.
That's a perfect segue to what I was going to say, because I think that Bruce Arians from the start has always been holding his nose when it came to AB, because this is a Tom Brady. This is a Tom Brady maneuver. It has been from day one. Tom Brady. Yes,
and
no,
AB
that's what I'm
definitely
saying. Right.
contributed, and but big reason that's why they got the Super Bowl win. So go ahead.
Yeah, Tom Brady is like, I don't care what color you are. I don't care where you come from. I don't care what you do when you leave the premises.
Yeah.
If you can help me get one of these rings, we down.
Let's do it.
I got you.
And
Tom Brady runs that show. Tom Brady runs that show. Let's keep it real.
What time it is, and I think he just signed somebody to his company with an NIL deal. So Tom Brady is on top of it. Let's go to these final takes, boys, and get your picks. We know who Deric is. I don't know who Deric is. Hold on.
It's gonna be a great year next year for the Saints. This year is just, I think they should tank, get a better pick. What do you do? We're not gonna go deep in the playoffs, man. Let's get
4 weeks to go. He's talking about next year.
We gonna get to the playoffs, and we got a fullback / tight end as a quarterback. They're not gonna go for. Sean Payton, I love you, man, but let it go. Let this love for Taysom Hill go, man. I don't get it. I really don't, man. But I'm gonna give. Let's see. Tampa Bay, we play very good defense against Tom Brady, so it's gonna be 21-7. Tampa Bay.
21-7.
Wow.
21-7. Tampa Bay.
So what if your team wins?
They're not gonna win. They're not gonna win.
Hey, listen. Are you and I gonna do like a late night show tonight if they do win?
Yeah, call me, and I'll.
I know you'll be going.
I'm gonna call. We gonna FaceTime. You can put me on call Sean Payton while you at it.
Hey, be careful because I've done that to Clarence Hill before, where he was talking at 1 a.m. and we did a 1 a.m. session. Nick, who's winning this game? Saints at Bucks.
Well, I'm going to go with the Bucks right now. Leonard Fournette is playing out of his mind. He has my fantasy numbers going out of the roof. I like what's happening right now with the Bucks offense. And right now, like Deric said, you have a fullback playing quarterback or a better version of Tim Tebow. And I'm just like Deric. I mean, Sean Payton's got to move on from this experiment, but the Bucks get the win tonight.
Okay, Stephen Holder.
I got the same thing. I got the Bucks winning. I think there's a couple things, and Nick, you just hit on this. The Bucks, they have a lot of offensive balance now. I mean, Tom Brady doesn't have to do this on his own. The way they can run the football, he can have an off night. He doesn't have many, but he can have an off night, and they can still get it done. And the other thing, on the other side of the ball, they're getting some guys back in that secondary because, I mean, that was just an absolute weakness for them. But they've kind of figured things out. And they've been able to nail that down a little better in recent weeks.
But this is the thing. You don't need a secondary.
Fair enough. You're playing a fullback at quarterback. So
we don't need a second. They got dogs at linebackers. You contain Kamara, you win this game.
That's true.
I'm just trying to figure out if people watching this show for the first time, they trying to figure out, is Deric a Saints fan or not a Saints fan?
I'm a realist. The Saints are just going through some injury stuff right now. Next year, we're going to be a beast.
Oh, okay. And who's gonna be your quarterback next year?
It ain't gonna be Taysom Hill. I ain't gonna be a Saints fan. It better be Jameis Winston, or we better go get Aaron Rodgers because I can't take this.
Oh, I don't know if Aaron Rodgers is coming to the Saints. I don't know if Russell Wilson is coming to the Saints. I don't know who.
Why not? We got a great team. We don't have a quarterback.
I'm not saying they shouldn't. I said I just don't know. I was relax.
Josina,
They're not listening right now.
Get on the phone with Sean Payton. You know that's your homie. And make some calls.
Because I can make it happen.
Matter of fact, Nick. Come on, Nick. Call somebody, man. Call somebody, dog.
Go in your Rolodex because Nick can make it happen.
Well, first and foremost, Deric, I mean, we're talking about the quarterback position. You guys don't really have a lot of viable wide receivers. So you're not going to entice Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers. So, first of all, fix your wide receivers.
What's going on with Michael Thomas.
Yes. Fix that, and then we can move on.
Well, Nick, that's why I said tank, and let's go get Ola, whatever his name is, from Ohio State, right?
Oh, now you're tanking.
Wow. What's the point? We Saints fans, we've been heartbroken for like 10 years now. We get to the playoffs, we get out.
No. You need a veteran that can come in there. You already got a strong defense. You got the running game going.
We don't have the money.
Well,
you don't want to come back home. I don't know.
Hey, it's just a remainder. Let's see what happens. Although it's going pretty well right now, they got a game on Tuesday. We'll see against the Seahawks. So let's see how that goes. But listen, I appreciate you guys jumping on the show. Lively discussion as always. Sunday Night Football already is taken off. We'll see if the Saints can actually do something. I don't know.
Nope.
What you feel listening on Deric. Right now, you might be taking some Patron to the head listening to Deric. I'm so sorry.
3 and out already.
Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. So for Deric, Augustine, Nick Ferguson, Stephen Holder, I appreciate it. We are out.
Peace.
Peace.